So let's start the chapter how to make subloops in loops, and this is what we are going to do. So this is a very simple loop. You can see here for I equals to 1 to 5 next I, and now what I want to do is, let's say I want to put the message box here, message box, the value of I, right? Uh, I'm not sure if I have talked about this message box before, but this is a very simple VBA function which is called the message box. What it does is it pops up the message box, guys. For example, whenever you write something in Excel, most of the time you see, there is some alert coming, there is some information coming. For example, if I write here 44 and I try to put it here in this H1, this pop-up comes. This also comes when you save the file with the name, with the name which already exists. So it immediately gives you the warning that this file already exists. So these are all called the message boxes, right? And this is something you can create in VBA also. So we will have a complete chapter on this, but for the timing, what I'm trying to do is, this is basically how you write MSGBOX, and then you put the space, and then you can put the message box. In the prompt section, you can write any. So this is how we write the message box, MSGBOX. In the prompt, you can write anything. What I do is, just to explain you, I'm going to write here my variable, which is I. So we will have the value of the I in the message box. That's it. So when I run this command, you know that what is going to happen. You will have 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, right? This is how it is. Now I want to, this message box I is fine, I keep it here, but inside this I want to run one more loop, and this loop should print me 100, 101, 102, 103, 104. So how I'm going to write it? Obviously you can write a one more loop. So we will write for j equals to, let's say you want to run this how many times? 5 times, 3 times, 100 times, that's all up to you, right? Let's say I want to run this loop only 3 times, right? Next j. This is how we write. So now in this loop I will write message box. In the message box I want to display the value of j. This is how we write, right? Now you can see that here we have got the 2 loops. Now you have to understand the structure of this. When I run this, variable not defined. Okay, so let me declare the variable as well, j as long. Now let me run this. So the first time when the loop runs, your value in the I is 1. It runs. But before I go to the next I and I see the I as 2, this loop will come. So this loop first gets executed. So in the VBA, first of all, we will execute all the sub loops, right? Now here Excel sees, your VBA sees that there is a j variable and there is one more loop which is supposed to run 3 times. So it starts working on that. So now you will have the j variable coming here. 1, 2, you see that first it completes this loop. Once it completes, it exits from it, and now we are back on the next I. But now you see what is going to happen. Interesting thing is, now the next I, next I is what? It is 1, next I will be 2. So you got the value of the 2, but now guys, again, this loop again will run 3 times. So basically, this loop is running 5 multiplied by 3, 15 times. Because every time the value of the I is going to run, you will get in this loop. And this loop then further executes 3 times. This is how we write the loops. 3 times it is running. Now what is the value of the I? So as long as we are getting the value of the I within the limit which is less than and equals to 5, the loop keep running. This is how it is. If I press F5, this is the value of the I. This is the value of the now j. 1, 2, 3, and then we are back on the I value as 5. This is the last time the loop is running. You see the loop finishes, right? Or maybe you can write here that sub loop message box. You can put the message box, or maybe you can do whatever. I mean, for example, instead of the message box, you can also print something. You can print let's say you want to print something in the column called P, right? So you can write here range, then B, and then join it with J dot value equals to what? Equals to whatever you want to print, right? For example, I want to print J. Now this time what I do, instead of 1 to 3, maybe I can make this 100 to 103, right? That's okay. And here in this the I, instead of this message box, what I will do, I'll put range and then A, and then let me join this with I dot value equals to I. This is how the loop will work. Now when I run this, see what is going to happen. So when we start, the first value in the A1 is 1. Perfect. Now the J will run from 100 to 103. So this will run 3 times, but the value which we will have, it is going to be 100. So let me put this in the local window. So you have your 100. So what you will get in the 100, B100 actually. Now you see that this is going to be B100. So I have to go to the B100. But what I will do, instead of this B100 guys, if I have to show this in the B1 using the J only, then there is another thing I'm gonna tell you now. You see, you know your J will start from 100. So you want to use this J here. This is, let's say, you want to use it, right? You do not want to create any further more variables, which you can do easily if you want to go. If you want to start from, let's say, B1, you can create here any other variable, any row variable, we can do that, right? But let's say I want to use the J only, but the problem with the J is that J is 100 and I have to start from B1 or B2 or B3. Then this is also possible. It's a simple math. You know that the first time when this loop starts, J will have the value of 100. So we can subtract 99 from it, right? Why? So that our code can run from the B1. That's how it is. So when I run this, see what is going to happen. You see that? We got the value in the B1. Because here we have a J, which is 100. But here, what we are doing, because we know the J will start from 100 and we want to go to the top. So how will you go to the top? Only when you subtract 99, the constant from it. Right? So that makes it J minus 99. It makes it 100 minus 99, which is going to be 1. And if it is going to be 1, then that is going to be used with this B1. So we say that in the B1, print the 100. Now what is the next J? You know the next J is now 101. So what you're doing, 101 minus 99, what you will get? You'll get 2. So basically you're saying, go in the B2 cell and print what? Print 101. This is how. So you will have your 100, 101 printed and then 102 printed. After you are, you're finished with this, then, so we will have this, how many times this is going to run? Let me see that. Yeah, this is done. So we have 100, 101, 102, 103. Now we are back on the major loop. So here we have the I as 2 again, because when we started the loop, the I was 1. We are back on the I loop and now the I is going to be 2. So you will have here 2 printed. This loop will again run. Again J will be 100. So again these values will be overwritten. We will not see anything, but this is actually working. It is overwriting, right? So this is how, guys, the loops are done. Now I'm just giving the basic, I'm just trying to teach you the pattern of the loop, how you write it. Obviously this does not make any sense right now, but this is how you write the loops inside the loops, right? This is how we write. You can further go and combine the 3 loops as well, guys. There is no limit. For example, if I go here, let's say you want to combine 3 loops. You want to write 3 loops. Okay. So this is how we can write. Let's say 3 loops. So the first loop will be, let's say I, J, K. I declare them I as long, then J as long, and then dim k as long. For example, this is what we want to do. So the first loop is for I equals to 1 to 3. So you first cover this next I. This is a bigger loop. You can write the comment also here. Main loop run 3 times. Now when it runs the 3 times, what I will do, I will put the message box. Let's say I want to print here. You can write it this way also. Value of I is concatenated with I. Okay. So when you run this loop, basically this is what we will see. Next without for. What is this next I? I think it's coming after. Next I. Okay, there are 2 next I actually. Let me delete that. Now I run this. So this is what will happen. This is how the message box comes. Value of I is 1. So what I actually have done is I concatenated this. I put this line in the the string, or maybe I can write here value of variable I is. I'm just explaining it to you, and then you join it with the I. This I'm putting it in the double quotes, so this is going to be treated as a string. But when I do that, inside this I want to run one more loop, which is for j equals to 1 to 2 only. Let's say only 2 times. Next. And in the message box, what I want to write, value of j, value of variable j is j, right? We will use this j. Now guys, inside this loop again, I want to write one more loop. So once you have the message box of j, you further go and write for k equals to 1 to 2 or 3, whatever you want to do it. Next k. This is how. So I write here message box, and then I write value of variable k is. So I put it in the quotes and I then join it with the variable k. Right? You should not put the double quotes here. Otherwise, what will happen? Your message box will start displaying k, right? Because then it will not be considered as a variable. It will be considered as a string. So this is your loop, guys. And look at this. I also always put the indenting. So this is very much readable. If you don't put the indenting, it will be difficult to understand. So in this way, we can write these loops. Okay, and I don't think so there will be any problem in this loop. It is very crystal clear, and we can write here j and next j. So let me show this loop. This is how the loop is. Now let us go ahead and run this. So there we go. Now you can also put the local window to understand this. So we have the 3 variables created, I, j and k. There we go. So what is the first value of I? It is 1. And then before the I will be 2, first it has to go through this entire inner code. So here we are going to run this j as 1 to 2. So that means you will run the loop 2 times. And then the first time when we have the value of the j is 1, again before you go for the next j, your VBA will see that there is another loop. So this is also going to be executed. So now this is the inner loop. This is the loop which is actually inside the j, and the j is inside a. So you can say that this is the sub loop, and this will execute now. So first we will have this loop running because we don't have any loop inside this loop. So we will go and run this value of k is 1, value of k is 2, value of k is 3. We know that the k is done, so we are back on the j. Now guys, before we go for the I, again this loop will take you to the J, because J has to go to from 1 to 2. We have the J here as 1 now. So that's how you will first complete all the inner loops. So now once again we have the J as 2. Once the J is 2, now we will have this loop running from K 1 to 3. So now again K is 1, K is 2 and K is 3. So finally when we are done, you see that now it will again go for the J as 3. But your VBA will check that you don't actually have the J as 3 because you have to run this loop only 2 times. So now finally what will happen, you will get out of this J and you're back on the I. Now I is supposed to run 3 times. First time we already had it run. So now the I of, again we will go and check, and now the I will run. So the value of the I is now 2. Now when the loop is going to run the second time, again this entire procedure will again run, right? Because every time it comes here, it will execute from the fresh. So now your J will again run 2 times. So the first time when it is running, but again it further goes inside the K and it will now execute the K 3 times. So we have K is 2, K is 3. Finally when we are done, again we are back on the J. Now J is 1, it has to go to 2. So again the J will run. So when the second time the loop runs, K loop again will be executed, right? So you see that it is not actually, the kind of, if you think that this is running 3 times and 2 times and 3 times, so you see that this is 3 plus 3 plus 2, 8 times. No, it is not 8 times. It's actually bigger than that, right? Every time I runs, this entire portion runs, and every time J runs, this entire loop runs. So you can multiply these numbers together, make that combination. You'll find it, how many times the loop is running. Now the loop is running the last time. Why? Because your entire loop will be dependent upon the bigger loop. Now I is 3 and I cannot be 4. So this is the last time the I 1 2 3 is running. So obviously next I will not now take you back to this loop. This is the last time we are running. So the value of the I is 3. Now again we will have this loop run. J is 1, K is 1, K is 2, K is 3, and so on. Now J is 2, K is 1 again. This K loop will again run. Finally you see that we are out of the loop. So this is how the loop actually macros they run. So you should not be having any problem in creating the sub loops, right? You should not have any problem. Do one thing. In your Excel, take the help of this screen. Just try to do this loop and then we will start with the collection loop. I will give you only 10 minutes for this, maybe 5 to 10 minutes. Now what you need to do is, you have to create this sort of loop, and then 100, 20, 200, 30, 300, 40, 400, 50, 500. So this is the type of the loop which we are supposed to run now. Okay, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 100, 200, 300, 400, 500 in the column B. So you can open your Excels and you can start doing it. I'll give you 5 minutes. first of all, you see, you have two different columns here, right? Now I do not know. I mean, maybe this can be done with the one loop also, but let's make this simple. Let's create two loops and let's combine them. So basically what I'm saying is let us create a sub loop in the loop. One loop will print 10, 20, 30, and the another loop which will be written inside this main one, that will go and print 100, 200, 300. So how we will do that? Now coming back to this, let me just insert the module here. So here we will write example loop. So the first thing I want to do is I want to take care of 10, 20, 30, which is very simple. So we will go and declare, let's say, I as long, and I will write here for I equals to 1 to 9, and then next I, okay, because I have to run this loop how many times? Well, actually I have to run this loop 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, only 5 times. So I can write here 5 times, and every time it goes in the range A and I dot value, it should print the value of, let's say, 10. So let me call this 10 as X. So I declare here X as well, X as long, right? And I will make sure that when the X starts, X should start with 10. Simple, right? After printing the value in the X, X should be incremented by 10. Because next time when the loop runs, it should be 20. This is the first thing. Now, we are skipping the one row, guys, here, So what we are supposed to do here is, now, if I run this loop, first of all, let me just move this here. This is our area. This is where we will write the code. Now you see, if I start running my loop like this, the first value in the A1, because I is going to be 1, I will have 10. That makes sense to me. Then X will be incremented. Now X is also 20, but the next time when the A runs, this is the range command runs, it is going to take the value in the 20 and so on. This is how. Basically what we want to print, that we are getting, but where we want to print, that we are not getting. So in that way, what I will do, I will go here, instead of this I, maybe I can declare a variable called R, right? And then here we can see that R should be R plus 1, so that the next time when the loop runs, your R should be incremented by 1, but not by 1, I think by 2, because we want to skip the row. So here I declare my variable R is long. This is how it is. Okay, you can also go, as I said last time, you can declare all the variables in one line as well to avoid the space. The choice is yours. Now I go and run this. Let me just delete that, and let's go and run this. First of all, let's make sure the first loop runs. So R is going to be what? Now in this particular case, you know what? I will get the error, range method failed. And I told you that whenever you get this method, that means there is a problem in your range syntax. So let's go and check that. So basically, syntax wise it is okay, but the problem is my R is empty and you cannot go in the empty cell. Can you go to the A0 cell? You can't go there, right? So that is why what I will do, I will write here R equals to 1. Before the loop starts, I want to make sure all the variables are correctly placed. So now when I run this, my R will have 1, guys. So it will take me to the A1, and in the A1 I will have my X printed. If you want to see in the local window also, you can see. This is how it is. Your R is 3 now. R is for the movement, you know that, right? So R is now 3, X is 20. The next time when the loop runs, where it will go? It will go in the A3. So in the A3 it will go, and it is going to print what? 20. You have the 20. Similarly again, R is again going to be incremented by 2, and X is going to be incremented by 10. So you have a new value 5 and 30, right? So now again the loop runs. So now you have 30, now you have 40, now you have 15. The first loop is running perfect. Now, so this part is done. Now you simultaneously you want to print 100, 200, 300, 400 and 500 as well. You know, this is how we would like to go ahead and print the value. Now I can go, so there are a lot of ways of doing it. If I have to run just 2 loops, for example guys, can I not go ahead and run the another loop here? This is not the sub loop in the loop. This will be the independent loop. But you can do that. If you have a task to repeat something 50 times, 100 times, then you can obviously avoid writing the different loops. Then you have to think of something which, by putting the loops inside the loops, the small loops inside the big loops, But in this case, we can run the 2 loops also independently. So what we can do is we can write here another variable. Again, we can start from I equals to, I'm not creating here any other variable. Remember, I'm not creating here j. I can reuse the I. This is okay, right? Because once I have got 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, I can use the I again. No big deal. But this time I want to use the I in this way. So again, you have to actually basically write 100, 200, 300 and 400, 500. Again, you can start here 5. So let me create this j dot I. You can use the I as well, but let's just create this separately. And we can write here second loop now running. You can put the comments also here in this way. Okay. So in the J now, what we are supposed to do, you're supposed to start this from where? You're supposed to start from this from second row. Okay. So again, if you want to use the previous variables, you can use. I think we should use that because we never did this before, So let's use the I only. Let's not create the additional variables. Now, when you started this, the first loop, R actually stopped at, I think, R stopped at the 9th row. But if I just go and write here again the R as something, let's say like 2, again R value will be overwritten, right? So that the value which the R has got from the previous loop, which is 9, that will be overwritten by the value of this R as 2. Simple. So once you have the R as 2, what is the next thing you want to do, guys? Why I'm writing 2, by the way, because I want to start from second row, remember. Okay. So here I will write range B and so R dot value. What do you want to print? X. Again, I'm using the X, no problem. So X will now what? X will be 100. Because my previous loop is done. So I can reuse my R and X, There's no problem. Okay. So finally we are done, and this time X will be incremented by 100. And your R is going to be incremented by again +1, because you want to go to from second row, you want to go to 4th row, from the 4th row you want to go to 6th, and then 8, and then so on. This is how you will start writing the code. Okay, so this is how it is, and let us go and run the code now. So now we have R as 1 to 5. So R is going to be 1, A1. So we will have the value in the A1 is 10. And then you see that X is 20, R is 3. Let me run this quickly because we know how it is going to work. So we have 30, 40, 50. Now the second time when the I runs, again we are saying now I is supposed to run 1 to 5, guys. So these all values will again be changed, right? So you see I is 6 now, but I'm saying again the loop runs and it should run 1 to 5. So you again have the I as 1, right? And then R is again going to 2 and X is going to 100. So we have changed every value. So instead of me going and creating another 3 variables, I'm intelligently using the same 3 variables. This is how I'm doing it. So now this R is 2, but this time it is going to be concatenated with B. So we will have B2. You see that I'm starting from 2. In the B2, what value I will print? 100. Then let's increment the x by 100. So finally we have the x is 200. R is what? R is 3. My mistake. R is not 3 actually. R is supposed to be, we should increment the R by 2 actually, because we want to skip one row. Let me rerun this line. Let me just pull it back and F8 again. So R is now, R is what? R is 5. Make sense? R should be 5 or not? R should be 2, 3, 4. Basically, previously also R was incremented and I again, pulled it back, executed. So R actually got the increment twice. So let me just quickly reset the code and rerun this again. So I just go and delete this because we just quickly go here. We should run this. And now we have 100. Okay, now see this. So now we have got IS2, the second time the loop is running, and so here I think there is some problem. What is the problem? You see that what I have done. Now when the second time the loop runs, R is again going to be 2, X is again going to be 100 guys. So what you will get? In the range B2 you will get 100. So this 100 again will be overwritten. So what I did is, the mistake, I put this R and X inside the loop. This is just a one-time activity. This you want to do to initialize the loop. So you want to cut it and you want to put it before the loop like this. Important point. Because if you write this in the loop, 5 times the loop run and 5 times you keep getting this value. So there is no fun of incrementing these values if you write inside this R as 2 and X is 100. And the same thing, if you look at this, here also we X and R values before the loop. So this is very important. We should change these values only once, and after that they will take the incrementation from here. Okay, so let's go and delete this. Now let me run the code. So there we go. So we have our 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Now R is 2, X is 100. So you will go in the B2. In the B2, you will go and print 100. You got the 100. Then you make 100 incremented by 100. You got the 100. X as 200. R as 4. Next I. Now in the next I, R will be 4 and X will be 200. So you will target the B4. In the B4, I will get my value 200. Same way guys, X again is going to be incremented, R is again going to be incremented, and finally we have 300. And then we have 400, and then we have 500, and the loop finishes. This is how you can use the loop. Very important. You know the local windows, you know the watch window. Now you see, if I have to run a particular portion on the F5 mode, and from there I want to take the code on the F8 mode, I can do that. For example, what I'm saying is, I know that this first loop is running successfully. So I don't want to waste my time running this again and again, because let's say if this is 100 times, you know how many times you have to press F8. In F8 it will take time, right? So what generally what we do is, we put the break code guys. Break code means you go on the line, this line, and just click here like this. This black dot will come. If you click back here, this will be gone. We call this break code. What is the use of it? When you run the macro from here till here, every line will be executed in the F5 mode. So even if you are running this loop 500 times, this will run in seconds, because now you're gonna press F5, right? But the loop will finally stop here. The code will stop here, and from here then you can go and take it on the F8 mode. So this generally sometime we do when we know that the problem is coming in this area and not in the above area. So I don't really want to start the F8 from here. So look at this. I'm gonna hit on the F5 or maybe run. You see that immediately the code ran and it is now waiting for you. Now from here you can take it, on the F8 mode or F5. Again, I mean, if you want to just go and press F5, you can. But I will take it on the F8 mode if I have to explain you this particular code. So this is a very, very interesting, important feature in the VBA. We use it a lot. If you want to get rid of it, just click back here. This is gone now. Now the next time when I run this, you see that the loop is done. So this is how we can make the loop. This is how it is. Talk about the second thing, the same loop. Let's combine the loop inside the loop, because right now what we have done, we have created the two loops separate. So let me go and create some space here. Okay, so let's start. dim I as long for I equals to 1 to 5. Next I, and this is where, so let us say this time we will run this cells with the cells command. I comma column number 1, the value should be equals to, let's say, x. So I'm gonna declare x as well, and dim x as long. Okay, so once I have these values, so x should be my, first of all, 100, and I'm going to use sorry, not the 100 but 10. I use one more variable, let's say 100. Okay, I'm just thinking dim y. This is going to be used obviously for the column B. So this is how I'm going to print the value. Now interesting one thing, that you have to run the loop actually 5 times for this and 5 times for this, isn't it? So can we not just go and combine, both the things in single loop? Because if I get here 10, then at the same time, why don't just I go and write here that in the same, not the same row, but I plus 1, because you want to print the value in the next row, and of course in the second column you want to print what? You want to print y. I think this is also interesting loop. We can simply say I plus 1, and from here this is going to be only I. So if you running the loop I as 1, this is going to be 2 comma 2, right? So we will have this 10 printed here and this 100 printed here, and finally we simply say x equals to x plus 10 and y equals to y plus 100. I think this way also we can run the loop. Let's go and run the loop. So there we go. So I have I, x, y. You have their values. So what is the first thing I want to print? In the row number 1 comma 1. This is how it is. So in the 1 comma 1, which means row number 1, column number 1, I should go and use the x as 10. Perfect. Now before you go for the next I, let us print the y as well, guys. 100, because I started the y as 100. But where you are supposed to put? Well, I am supposed to put this in the I plus 1, which is 1 plus 1, which is 2. Second row, but which column? Second column. You don't have to use any variable here, because B and A will remain as it is. So if I run this, we got the 100. Now before we go for the next loop, what we are supposed to do? We are now supposed to increment the x and increment the y. So I got the x as 20, I got the y as 200. Now next I, what is the next I? Well, the next I will be 2, right? If it is going to be 2, you will have a now problem. Why? Because this I is 2, that means you are going to target the second row and the first column. Do you need that? You don't need that. So what is the solution? The solution is, either you go and create this variable, maybe a different variable. Let's say you go and create this R like we did previously, R, and then here you make sure that R should be incremented by 2, and then here your R should start with 1, and you write here R is long. This is how you can make the loop. So I go and run this. So you're starting with the row number 1, R is 1, and you're going to print 10. You got the 10, guys? Now before you go for the next I, you want to go and target the 1 plus 1, which is 2. So in the second row, in the second column, you want to display 100. You got the 100? Now we will increment x by 10, y by 10, but importantly r by 2 to keep this r as 2. So you got the r as 3. Perfect. Now the loop is running the second time. What is the value in the r? 3. So you go in the row number 3, column number 1, A3. What do you want to print? X. What is the x? 20. Great. Now what is r? R is 3. 3 plus 1 makes it 4. So where you will go? You will go in the row number 4, in the column number 2. So that means you will target B4. What are you going to print there? 200. This is how the loop runs, and you have, this is much simpler, isn't it? That's how you can make the loop. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you're learning a lot.